Hi everyone and welcome to week 38. This week I wanted to have a little bit of fun with Neptune and abuse it a little bit to get some interesting effects and sounds. Now, as with most of the devices and features of both Reason and Record, sometimes using them for things that they weren't intended for or designed for can produce some really interesting results. In weeks 30 and 31, I covered how to use Neptune to correct pitch on vocals and add harmonies. Well, this time around, we're going to use Neptune to mess around a little bit with the pitch and formant of some tracks to come up with some really unusual and interesting sounds. Here I have a drum loop playing, which is quite a famous breakbeat, and it's used a lot by one of my favorite artists, Squarepusher. One of the things he likes to do with this loop is to play with the formant of the loop so it's constantly evolving in texture and timbre as the song evolves. We can do that with Neptune quite easily. I've created a Combinator Patch, which you can download from this link, and right now I'm going to show you what it's doing and how I made it. I'm using a Neptune, but I have the pitch correction turned off because we're not using pitch correction here. I have the formant shift turned on and set to a bass value of 28 so that the starting or bass sound is shifted up just a touch. Now when I flip the rack around, you can see that I have the LFO2 out of this Thor connected to the formant CV input, and the attenuator set to full range. LFO2 is set to a random waveform and is synced to MIDI clock, which is right now changing at every bar. So each time the random LFO changes value, the formant of the loop changes as well. I also wanted to play around with the pitch of the loop and make some extreme pitch changes or adjustments. So I set the pitch bend range of this Neptune to 24, which is 2 octaves. And I'm using the Curve 1 CV output of the Thor step sequencer connected to the pitch bend CV input, and its attenuator is also set to full range. The step sequencer on this Thor is also set to sync to MIDI, and is set to a repeating pattern in a forward direction. Now if I really wanted to modify this a bit further on its pitch, I could turn on the transpose of the Neptune and set it to an octave down, and things start to get really interesting. Okay, now for some fun with forced pitch correction. Here I have a final mix of a song, which I wanted to mess around with in real time. So I've loaded a Neptune onto the audio track with pitch correction on, but no notes selected on the keys, so it's not going to automatically correct the pitch. Make sure the MIDI destination is set to pitch adjust, and create a sequencer track for the Neptune by right-clicking on it and selecting Create Track for Neptune. Now I'm going to press F4 on the QWERTY keyboard and set the note range to a higher octave, and only when I start to play notes on the keyboard do you hear the effect. Of course, I could record all of these notes onto this track in the sequencer, so I could use it for things like breakdowns or build-ups or just some quick sonic assaults during the song playback. So as you can hear, Neptune has quite a few tricks up its sleeve when it comes to doing sound design, as well as being an excellent pitch correction and harmony tool. Well, that's it for another week. Again, I am James Bernard from Propellerhead Software, and I will see you all next week with another tip. Bye-bye.